If you could only measure one metric to determine your overall health, it should probably be your blood pressure. This is because blood pressure is a silent killer. Blood pressure can be high, you can have all of the problems associated with blood pressure, but you have no symptoms. You don't realize, but this can be causing a ton of different problems within your heart, within your blood vessels, all the way up in your brain and in all of your organs. So it's pretty serious. You need to understand what high blood pressure is and you need to understand how to manage it. So today I'm going to break down exactly what high blood pressure is, why you get high blood pressure, and then how you can actually begin to manage it to bring your blood pressure down using diet and exercise. First of all, we need to actually understand what high blood pressure is. So whenever you go to the doctor, or if you've got a blood pressure machine at home, you would have experienced putting the cuff on your arm and it squeezes your arm. This is measuring your blood pressure. Typically, a normal blood pressure is 120 over 80. The reason it's over, the 120 is how much pressure is within your blood vessels every time your heart beats. You want that to be 120. Then, obviously, when your heart relaxes, there's going to be less blood pushing through those blood vessels, so it's going to go down, and you want that to be over 80. The best way that I can describe this, I can never get the brightness right. The best way I can describe this is imagine you've got a hose pipe out in the garden. When you turn the tap on, this is going to be like a heartbeat. You're going to have a high pressure, high flow. Then if you relax the heart or you bring the tap down a little bit, it's going to be lower, but water will still be flowing. That's how blood pressure basically works. So in an ideal world, you want 120 over 80. If you're anywhere below 130 over 80, you're a decent blood pressure. You don't have to be bang on. If you're over 130, you could be said to be pre-hypertensive. So you have got an elevated blood pressure, but it's not particularly a problem. It's not a major problem, but it is elevated. You need to monitor it. If you start going over 140, that's when you need to have a little look. You need to assess you are hypertensive, you've got high blood pressure. However, it is worth noting, and this is a very interesting fact, when you go over the age of 65, your blood pressure will naturally be higher, and this isn't a problem. This is because within our body, we have different systems that will regulate our blood pressure. Most importantly, within our blood vessels, we've got the aorta here, you'll have these things called baroreceptors. Don't need to go into what they do, but their main function is to measure pressure. However, as we get over 65, as we age, they lose their sensitivity, so they're less able to measure that pressure, so the pressure will be naturally a little bit higher, and that's not a major problem. So if you're over 65, obviously speak with a healthcare provider, but the reason you have a higher blood pressure may not be because of your lifestyle or because of any issue. It may just be because of a natural aging process. So that's what blood pressure is, but what actually causes high blood pressure? Now, there are a ton of different things that can cause high blood pressure, and if I was to go into all of them today, this video would be an hour long. So I'm just going to go into the two main ones, and this is going to be increased fluid or constricted blood vessels. First of all, increased fluid. Now, this can be because of an actual issue, for example, kidney failure, where you get more water within the body. But I'm going to assume if you're watching this video, you don't have kidney failure. And if you do, you need to speak to a doctor. But the main one I want to focus on is a high salt diet. If you eat a lot of salt, salt attracts water. So if you have a lot of salt within your blood vessels, within the circulatory system, it's going to draw more water in. Now, you can imagine if you've got more water in there, there's also, or more blood, it's going to be more blood and water pushing against the vessels. That is going to cause an increased pressure. Best way I can describe this is using a water bottle. Imagine this water bottle represents your blood vessels. So this potentially is the aorta or any blood vessel in your body. When you have a little bit of blood in there or a little bit of water, let's just say this is a normal amount, it's squishy. The pressure is low. There's a low pressure within this bottle. However, if we have a really high salt diet and we draw a lot of water in, so we put more water into the bottle, if we fill that bottle all the way to the top, so imagine you've got a high salt diet and you've drawn a lot of water into the blood vessel, there's more pressure. That's not as squishy anymore because there's more fluid pushing out against the blood vessel walls, so you have a higher blood pressure. So that is problem one. The best way you can fix that is to reduce the amount of salt that you have within your diet. I would always recommend that you try and eat less than 6 grams of salt per day. If you can do that, you can stay in a fairly healthy balance. That is going to allow you to reduce the amount of pressure within the blood vessels. As well as this, if you can exercise, every time you exercise, you will sweat. Within that sweat is going to be different salts. If you can sweat out some of those, so if you're eating a very high salt diet and you can sweat out some of those salts, you're going to have less salt within the system, so then your blood pressure will go down as well. So that is the main way that you can reduce it in terms of fluid overload, if you've got too much water within the system. But that is also probably the least common cause of high blood pressure. The most common cause is something going wrong with the actual blood vessels. First of all, a lack of exercise. This is for 3 main reasons. Number 1, if you don't do much exercise, your heart is going to be weaker. If your heart is weaker, it has to pump more, and technically with more force, it's going to be pumping as hard as it can, as fast as it can. This is going to cause you to have a lower resting rate of a high blood pressure. This is going to cause your blood pressure to be naturally higher at a resting state. That's how I want to say it. So number 1, strengthen your heart. It will help reduce your blood pressure. As well as this, when you exercise, you're going to get more blood circulating quickly within these blood vessels. This will cause that blood to begin to shear or scrape at the sides of the blood vessels, and this promotes the release of something called nitric oxide. Very healthy substance. This is something not to worry about. Your body produces nitric oxide to relax your blood vessels. So when the nitric oxide is circulating, it causes vasodilation. Basically, the blood vessels open up. This is going to reduce your blood pressure. Again, imagine it like a hose. The smaller the hose, the higher the pressure. You can imagine it squirting out. But if you've got a wider hose, it could be a lower blood pressure. So that's the second reason you need to exercise. The third reason you need to exercise is going to be for your nervous system. When you exercise, obviously you're going to release adrenaline, and this will increase your blood pressure, but it's not a problem because you're doing exercise. However, when you finish that exercise, your nervous system is going to calm down. You're going to have less of a fight or flight system, and this is going to help reduce your blood pressure, because when you have fight or flight, it increases your blood pressure. So it does the same. As well as this, there's something called post-exercise hypotension. This basically means for about 12 hours, maybe more, after you do your exercise, your blood pressure will be naturally reduced because of this calming down of the nervous system. So definitely worth doing your exercise. The final point I'll say on exercise is atherosclerosis. This basically means building up of plaque within the blood vessels. You can imagine if you have plaque built up in this blood vessel, it's going to narrow the blood vessel, and then you're going to end up with a higher blood pressure. So the more you exercise, the less plaque you will get. Loads of different reasons, I'm not going to go into it, but exercise is a key thing you need to do if you want to reduce your blood pressure. The main exercise I'd recommend, moderate intensity cardiovascular exercise is fine. So anything that gets your heart rate to a point, or gets you out of breath to the point that you can have a broken conversation. If you can do that 5 days a week for about 30 minutes, you'll be perfectly fine. Obviously lifting weights is also good as well. But just going out for a brisk walk or going out for a cycle to get started, great start, build it up from there. The final thing you need to work on is your stress. Every time you get stressed, your body develops a fight or flight response. It begins a fight or flight response. Whether that's emotional stress, physical stress, any kind of stress, it's going to create that response. So you need to reduce your stress as much as possible. I would recommend you do this just once or twice a day. Have some kind of activity, something just to help you decompress. Try and reduce your stress as much as possible, because high emotional, high physical stress is going to give you a higher resting blood pressure. So you need to also reduce that. So overall, I think I've given you a pretty in-depth explanation of what blood pressure is. You know what it is, you know when it's high, you know that you need to eat less salt, you also know you need to exercise, and you need to reduce your stress. If you can do those 3 things, your blood pressure will come down. Obviously, there are other things you can do. You can speak to the doctor and have medication, but obviously as well, the best way to do things is without medication. You don't want to be on a medication, so try these different things, speak with your doctor, see what they suggest. But yeah, give it a go. I think this is the best way though that you can attack your blood pressure and help try and bring it down. So let me know how you find it. Put any comments down below, any questions, and yeah, I'll do another video like this if you guys like it.